system guy. You know what I mean? You were coachable. You came in. You were low maintenance. You're exactly what Belichick loved. And then Tom and Bill, at the end, like any 20-year marriage, I think Tom got a little agitated by some things. Were you ultimately surprised that Tom decided, listen, I'm out? Did that surprise you at all?
No, not at all. And it's funny you bring up the fact that I was coachable. Most people, when they have like a draft review or something, they talk about, oh, the guy moves really well laterally, or he's strong, he's athletic. I didn't have any of those attributes. They just said he was highly coachable. Literally, that's all I had going for me. Now, on the other hand, a guy like Brady and a coach like Bill Belichick, that was honestly the perfect mesh of, what drives people, right? And sometimes you clash a little bit with your coaches when, one guy's super competitive and the other one maybe looks at things a little bit differently. Those two were on the same page with everything. But towards the end, I think it really came down to the fact that, hey, I'm at a point in my career, if you're Tom Brady, where I want to start taking on some different roles. I want to look at things differently. I want to coach a little bit more. I want to do this. I want to do that. And in a system like the Patriots system and how Bill Belichick coaches doesn't really allow for that. That's not negative, in my opinion. It just is what it is. And so it was time for that separation. It was time for him to go do his thing. And, as it stands right now, it looks like a pretty good decision.
Yeah, it sure does. The one criticism I've said of Belichick, he drafts the offensive line well. He drafts the defense well. He drafts the secondary very well. It's an organization that has missed on a lot of receivers, and they're not terribly dynamic, Matt, on the perimeter right now. And I thought in Tom's last 2 years, you would see him on the sidelines. Not a lot of separation. Tom having to throw into tiny windows. Are you surprised how much Belichick, without Tom, struggled last year?
No, I'm not surprised. I think you're not really comparing apples to apples, right? Like I said this before the season ever kicked off, that Bill Belichick is not viewing the 2020 season as anything but an extended training camp. Now, that's not to be disrespectful for the guys that won a championship with the Buccaneers or anybody else that played that season. I think the reason is that the rules of engagement weren't clear. No coach in the NFL understood what was really going to happen week to week. Who was going to be up, who was going to be down, who was going to pass a test and then fail a test, but really not even have COVID, right? So all of that said, I think what you're going to see this season will be a lot more of an indicator of what life is truly like post Tom Brady in New England.
It's interesting, Matt. So they can go two ways. I tend to think that their division is better, and I think they have a chance to be a playoff team, although I don't know if they stack up quite with Buffalo right now. They're not as dynamic at wide receiver. But I don't think you can experiment a lot in this division anymore. I think Miami's well coached. I think Buffalo's well coached. The Jets are still the Jets, but they're more talented than previous years. So I would go with Cam. My takeaway is he's a power running quarterback. I think with this O-line and defense, you can get into the playoffs with Cam. But there are people, Matt, that are going to say, let's start over. Cam's not the future. Take me inside how you think Bill views this in a more viable AFC East. It's a real division now, Matt. Do you go Cam or do you go the kid?
Look, I think you've got it right. I think that, look, just from the outside, right, if you didn't know anything about the inside workings of the organization, Bill Belichick likes to go with a veteran. He likes to go with a proven guy, especially at the quarterback position. So, I think his tendency is going to go with the veteran. Let the young guys see what it's like. Let the young guys see, what's expected and how things work week to week and get in a rhythm and study from somebody like Cam. I also think that, again, what you saw last year, how they utilized Cam Newton, his strengths, his weaknesses, how they tried to exploit, defenses and things of that nature, that's going to be so different this year. So hang on, wait it out. expect a lot more out of Cam Newton and how they work with him within this offense. And I would look to see him as your opening week 1 starter for the Patriots.
So, Matt, we've got 17 games this year. I have speculated that I can see teams going to their interior linemen and saying, fellas, we're going to give you week 9 off. The bye week and the following week that you may have to, especially for veteran linemen. You know, a receiver or a corner, it may be different, or a quarterback or special teamers. But I do wonder, do you think just adding a game, I have a feeling that maybe practice lightens up. Maybe some veteran interior offensive linemen, you give them extra weeks off. So I don't buy this Brady's going to go 17-0 nonsense. I don't think anybody is. What do you think the added game does?
You know, I don't think it'll do a whole lot, and here's why, right? In the game today, and this isn't, you know, coming from a guy who talks about, you know, uphill both ways, no shoes in the snow, but the game is different, right? They take care of players in every way, not just at practice, not just in training camp, but week to week. You know, the number of hits, the number of times there's collisions, all that stuff has been so drastically reduced that you almost need a 17th game to get into top playing performance for the playoffs. I mean, these guys don't get very many opportunities to work at their craft and do all the little things, you know? So I think that they're going to be able to rest these guys like they have been throughout the normal process. I don't think it's going to be a major burden for most players because, you know, look, the game is played a lot differently today than it was 5, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, a lot of guys the starters don't even play in the preseason at all anymore. By the way, you're part of Lowe's home team. What are you doing?
Yeah, look, we're kicking off the 100 Hometown Projects. We're the first project. We're building a 40-foot covered bridge. We got this bridge behind me, if you can see it. It's a model, but the real one's 40 feet. We got 16 kids that are here at our camp in Greenville, Ohio, and we're excited to be a part of this. We're excited for all the support that Lowe's has given us. This is going to be a fun week for these kids, and they're going to learn a lot.
By the way, all the offensive linemen who are my friends, they retire, and they all lose 50 pounds. Now, I'm not going to judge your body, but my guess is, Matt, all my buddies, Jeff Saturday, Damian Woody, they're all like, oh, I don't have to lift weights anymore. Give me, what was 12 months after you retired look like for you physically?
Yeah, the same actually for a decade. You could extend that for a decade. I don't work out like I used to. I don't do anything in weight rooms and gyms and all that stuff. You know, you try to eat healthy. You try to take stress off your body. But you look at a Jeff Saturday, you look at a Nick Hardwick, you look at a Steve Hutchinson, you know, all these guys that I've played with, and the ones that do it right are able to drop it. Now, on the flip side, Colin, there's some that have tipped the scales the wrong way. But for the most part, we try to, you know, lessen it. I'm still a 290-pound mammal. I've got about 30 pounds I could give up.
Well, maybe today working on that bridge, you'll burn some calories. Matt, great seeing you again. Happy for you, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Colin. Take care.
What is interesting about Brady is that, and I'm sure all of you have thought of this, so it's not some revelation here, but now he's going to be healthier. Now he gets the preseason. Now he knows the system.